They say love can come from anywhere, but I never imagined mine would come while scrubbing marble floors and fetching waters with cracked palms. My name is Amara, and at just 21 years old, I found myself working as a maid in the mansion of the Adekunle family, a household where beauty lived in every chandelier, but cruelty echoed louder than wealth ever could. I didn't come to Lagos to fall in love. I came because I was tired of the village life and wanted to help my mother and younger brother back home. When I was hired, they promised me light duties and respectable pay, but by the second week, I was more of a punching bag than a worker. The madam of the house, Mrs. Angela Adekunle, never saw me as human. To her, I was dead with a name. She would yell at me if a spoon was misplaced, slap me if the curtains weren't aligned, and insult my family like they were animals. You bush girls always come here thinking someone owes you the world, she sneered. Be lucky I gave you a roof. I endured all quietly because the money helped my mother pay my brother's school fees. But there was one person in the house who didn't treat me like I was invisible. Chief Kunle Adekunle, her husband, the man of the house. At first, he hardly noticed me. Always busy, always traveling. But on one rare afternoon when Madam was out and he returned early, I served him tea in the living room and turned to leave quickly as I was trained. But he stopped me. "What is your name?" he asked. I froze, my heart pounding. "Mara, sir." He smiled, a tired but genuine smile. "That's a beautiful name," I nodded, unsure how to respond. "Thank you, sir." From that day, he started noticing me. "Good morning, Amara," he would say. "Did you eat today?" No one had ever asked me that in that house. He gave me a birthday gift when no one else remembered. The smallest wristwatch I've ever seen, but the biggest act of kindness anyone has shown me. Madame noticed it. Oh, she noticed it. And that was when the real torture began. She began assigning me work that kept me up past midnight. She accused me of theft, of laziness, of seduction. One evening, she caught me ironing Chief's shirt and threw the hot iron at me. I screamed, the buns carrying my shoulder. Chief rushed in horrified. "Angela, are you mad?" he shouted. "She's a human being." That was the first time I saw fire in his eyes. He scolded her like she was a child, and for that first time, I felt protected. She cried and lied, of course, said I was trying to seduce her husband, but he didn't believe her. From then on, he started giving me lighter tasks. Even insisted I see a doctor for my burn. He paid for everything. My heart betrayed me because despite all my pain, I started falling for him slowly, silently. Then one night it happened. It was raining heavily. Madam had traveled for a wedding in Ghana. I was alone in the house with Chief. There was a blackout. He invited me to sit with him in the living room under candlelight, just to talk. We spoke for hours about life, loneliness, dreams. He said something that shook me. Money can buy you everything but peace. And I lost mine a long time ago. I asked why he stayed married if he was so unhappy. He looked at me for a long time and said, "I don't know anymore, but lately, you remind me of what peace feels like." Silence fell. He didn't touch me, didn't rush me, but the way he looked at me that night, like I was more than just a maid, made me cry myself to sleep, because I knew what we had wasn't allowed, and it was already too late. After that night, everything changed. Chief didn't say anything improper. He didn't touch me, but a silent understanding passed between us. He saw me, and not just as a maid. He saw the me I buried under uniforms and endless chores. And I couldn't stop thinking about the sadness in his eyes. The way he looked at me reminded me of what peace felt like. But peace wasn't something anyone in that house was allowed to feel, especially not me. Madam Angela returned 2 days later, loud and dramatic as usual, parading around in expensive clothes with a perfume that filled every corner before her feet even stepped in. "Amara," she shouted before she even dropped her handbag. "Did you use my perfume while I was away?" I didn't. I never touched anything that wasn't mine. But she didn't wait for an answer. She slapped me so hard I fell to the floor. My ears ringing. You useless thing. You think because my husband pities you, you now have wings. That day I cried, not because of pain, but because I knew she was right in a way. Chief did pity me, but deep down, I was starting to hope it was more than that, and hope was dangerous. The tension in the house grew unbearable. Chief became more protective. He gave strict orders that I must not be touched again. If I have issues with her, come to me, he told me. Madame coldly was angry. This only made things worse. She started spreading rumors to her friends. My husband is bewitched by our maid. She hissed to her sister over the phone. That bush girl must be using something. She brought in the prophecy told me once, made me kneel down while he prayed over my head. Lose your grip on the man of this house. He screamed, slapping olive oil on my forehead like fire would pour out. But nothing changed because I wasn't using charm. I was using kindness, and for a man who lived in bitterness, kindness was louder than jazz. Then came the breaking point. I'd gone out to buy foodstuff. When I returned, the gate was locked. The security guard whispered, Madam, say you no fit enter again o. She said you are fired. My heart dropped. I hadn't even packed my clothes. I begged. I called her for Chief from outside the gate. I sat there till nightfall, hugging my knees, wondering where I would sleep. I had no money, no family in Lagos, nothing. Just a bag of garri and a broken heart. Then, around 9 p.m., his car pulled up. He came down from the vehicle in his usual suit, eyes dark with fury. Open this gate, he roared. Gate opened immediately. He walked straight to me, lifted my bag himself and said to the guards, If anyone touches her again, you will all leave before she does. Madam Angela came running downstairs when she saw him walking into the house with me. So you have chosen her over me, eh? She shouted. Is this what you have become? Chief turned to her slowly. Angela, you have never respected me. You have humiliated me in public and in this house. The only warmth I have known in years came from this girl, and that should scare you more than anything else. That night, he made a decision that turned my world upside down. He asked me to sit across from him in the dining room and said, I have filed for divorce. My spoon dropped. I stared at him, unable to speak. You didn't break my marriage, Amara, he said gently. You only made me realize it has been broken a long time ago. I stayed because of what people will say. Now I want to live what I feel. Tears slipped down my face. Sir, I'm just a maid. He leaned forward. And I'm just a man who wants peace. Let me give you the life you deserve. I didn't answer that night. I couldn't. But deep down, a seed had been planted. They say love isn't supposed to come from suffering. But sometimes beauty grows from broken places. And maybe, just maybe, this broken place was where my story truly begins. The mansion became a war zone that night. Madam Angela stormed through the house like a hurricane, screaming, breaking plates, threatening to burn the entire compound if Chief didn't snap out of it. But Chief didn't raise his voice once. He moved through the house like a man who had already made peace with his decision. He began sleeping in the guest room, stopped eating her food, and hired a lawyer the following week. Divorce papers were delivered to her in silence. Me, I tried to disappear into the walls. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breathe. I kept asking myself, what am I doing? How did I get from washing the man's shoe to sitting at his dining table talking about forever? I wasn't even sure what love really meant. All I knew was he looked at me well. I didn't feel like a nobody. I felt seen. I knew there's something more than just a uniform shadow. Madam didn't take the divorce well. She called everyone, church elders, family, friends. She accused me of seducing her husband with native charm. One Sunday morning, I opened my social media account just to find a photo of me in uniform, splashed across several gossip blogs with the caption, Housemaid allegedly breaks up billionaire marriage. My heart dropped. My mother in the village called me in tears. Amara, is this true? Are you in trouble? I didn't know how to explain it. Not yet. Chief tried to protect me from the backlash. Ignore them, he said. The same mouth calling you names now will celebrate you when the dust settles. But it wasn't easy. Everywhere I went, people whispered. Some of the house staff avoided me. The cook once threw salt at my feet just because she thought I wasn't looking. Just in case, she muttered. I felt like the entire world was against me. But Chief stood his ground. He didn't just defend me behind closed doors. He defended me in public. At a family gathering, one of his elder brothers insulted me openly. "You disgrace our name to carry one maid as wife. You must be mad." Chim kindly stood up and said, "If a maid can give me peace that years of marriage could not, then call me mad. I will choose her over and over again." And that was the day everything changed. The next day, he gave me a small envelope. Inside was an invitation card with both our names printed in gold. My breath caught in my throat. "Chief, this is not possible." He knelt down, not with a ring yet, but with a request. "I want you to be more than my maid, more than my peace. I want you to be my wife." I cried, not because I wasn't happy, but because I was afraid of stepping into a world I never belonged. "I don't know how to be a wife to a man like you," I said. "They will always look at me like I don't deserve it." He smiled gently. "Then let them look. Why you live, why you rise, why you shine. And when you sit beside me at the table, wear your scars like a diamond." We didn't do a big wedding, just a court registry, a simple church blessing, and a small reception with only a few trusted people. Madam Angela didn't show up, of course. She had moved out of the house weeks earlier, bitter and bruised but gone. On my wedding day, I wore white, not because I was perfect, not because my past was spotless, but because I had survived every insult, every slap, every humiliation, and I still had the capacity to love and be loved. I wasn't the maid anymore. I wasn't just the girl who scrubbed floors and served food. I was Mrs. Amara Adekule. And even though the world didn't clap for me, Chief did, and that was enough. Becoming a wife didn't automatically erase my past, but it redefined me. The day I moved from the boys' quarters to the master's bedroom, I stood at the doorway for minutes, holding my breath. The same room I once tiptoed into, only to clean, was now mine. The same bed I tucked and arranged for years now welcomed me each night. But with every pillow I touched, with every mirror I passed, I felt the ghost of what I had endured, the humiliation, the hunger, and the silence. Chief, my husband, was patient with me. He never rushed me into becoming someone I wasn't. "Take your time," he would say whenever I froze at dinner parties or accidentally poured too much salt in the soup. "You are not performing anymore. You are home." This word healed me something inside, but not everyone around us shared the same warmth. His circle of worldly friends looked at me like I was a charity project. I could see it in their smiles. "Wow, she's humble," one of the wives said through tight lips at our first official gathering. Another leaned close and whispered to me, "What jazz did you use to make him, my dear? Because this kind of miracle needs to be bottled." They laughed at it like it was a joke, but it wasn't funny. I felt like I was constantly walking through a house of glass. One wrong step and I would shatter it all. But I refused to break. Instead of shrinking, I enrolled in an adult education program. I took etiquette classes. I started volunteering with an NGO that supported housemaids who had suffered abuse and needed legal or emotional support. One of the first girls I met had bruises on her arm and a scar above her eye. She looked at me like I was a fairy tale. "They said a maid can never be a madam," she whispered. I held her hand and replied, "Then let's make them liars." Chief supported every move I made. "Use your story," he would say, "make it better." Eventually the gossip stopped, not because people forgot, but because I outgrew their judgment. I didn't respond to their whispers. I built something louder, a voice. My blog, once a diary, became a platform for domestic workers across the country. I shared stories of survival, of transformation, of silent battles being fought in kitchens and corridors every day. Women started calling me Madam Amara, not because I wore gold or pearls, but because I wore my scars with pride. Years passed. Madam Angela remarried a politician. The marriage made headline and ended in a scandal. One day, I met her at the pharmacy by coincidence. We locked eyes, and for a moment neither of us said anything. Then she looked at me, older and hardened, and said, "I never thought you'd become her." I smiled gently. "That's the thing about Maid," I replied. "You only look down on them until they rise." She scoffed, turned away, and walked away. But I didn't feel anger. I felt freedom. Now every morning I wake up next to a man who didn't just love me. He chose me, and every night I look in the mirror and see a woman who didn't just survive. She transformed. To every girl scrubbing floors with dreams in her chest, I say, do not let your uniform define your destiny. You can be soft and still be strong. You can be silent and still be seen. You can begin as a help and still become the heart of the home. I was Amara the maid. Now I am Amara the woman who turned pain into power and love into legacy.